Traigan la manguera, que son 45.
Cuando cumples 45, te toca soplar muchas velas y examinarte contra el cáncer de colon, ya que al detectarse temprano es más tratable en 9 de cada 10 personas. Usa la prueba de Cologuard en la privacidad de tu casa y envíala de regreso para obtener tus resultados. La prueba de Cologuard es una opción con receta para detectar el cáncer de colon en personas de 45 años o más con riesgo promedio. Resultados positivos deben ir seguidos de una colonoscopía. Pueden darse resultados falsos positivos y falsos negativos. La prueba de Cologuard no reemplaza la colonoscopía en pacientes de alto riesgo. No uses Cologuard si has tenido adenomas, si tienes enfermedad inflamatoria intestinal y ciertos síndromes hereditarios o un historial personal o familiar de cáncer de colon. Pide la prueba de Cologuard a tu médico. Para más información en español, visita cologuard.com/prueba.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
It's Saturday, the 21st of March. I'm Ciara Reffins, and this was a week that saw Israel and America continue their war with Iran. A meningitis outbreak spark a health alert, Ukrainian President Zelensky in London, and the Oscars take a political turn.
Grab a cup of something hot, put up your feet, and get up to speed on the 7 biggest stories of the week. This is the Standout 7 from the Smart 7.
It's news,
but not the news.
There was no sign of any breakthrough this week as Israel and America continued to launch airstrikes on Iran, and Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi told CBS News that the country was ready to defend itself for as long as it takes. His remarks followed a rambling interview from Donald Trump on Saturday that saw the US president claim Iran wanted to make a deal and that he'd know in his bones when the war was over. He also asked other nations to send warships to help secure the crucial Strait of Hormuz, calling out the UK, China and France in particular. The UK's Energy Secretary Ed Miliband told the BBC on Sunday that the government still believes that the best way to get energy prices down is to reopen the strait through diplomacy.
If it's necessary to intervene, we will. But as the regulator said, we don't know what's going to happen to the energy price cap in July.
Lib Dem leader Sir Ed Davey was also calling for an end to the fighting in the region.
The best way to do that, the quickest way to do that, is to de-escalate this war. I think Donald Trump and Israel should stop the bombing, and Iran should be forced to stop the bombing. We need to make sure there's diplomatic efforts to bring this whole thing to an end.
While much of the world's focus has been on the strikes in Iran, Israel has been consistently targeting what it calls Hezbollah infrastructure in Lebanon. What started with airstrikes that have left almost 1,000 people dead may soon turn into a ground invasion, with one senior Israeli official quoted as saying, "We're going to do what we did in Gaza." UN Security General Antonio Guterres spoke out across the weekend denouncing Israel's actions against Lebanon and calling for both sides in Lebanon to back down from the aggression that is taking place in the shadow of the larger Iran conflict.
It is imperative that Israel respects the sovereignty and territorial integrity of Lebanon. The war must stop.
When I saw Donald Trump hold an impromptu press conference at the Trump Kennedy Center as he announced it would close for 2 years and held forth on the war and his annoyance with US allies. The US president said he doesn't think that the war would end this week, and he's definitely irritated that a long list of European allies won't send warships to escort oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. He seemed particularly irritated with UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer's polite but firm response.
The Prime Minister of UK, United Kingdom, yesterday told me, I'm meeting with my team I said, you don't need to meet it with the team. You're the prime minister. You can make your own. Why do you have to meet with your team to find out whether or not you're going to send some minesweepers?
Starmer has been resolute in his refusal to get drawn into the Middle East war, and he was sticking to his guns on Monday, emphasising that minimising the domestic impact of rising global energy prices is still his first priority.
My instinct, my first priority is to protect people, and that's why we put in measures that are already there, the capping of energy bills, and to be really clear, because I know people are worried about this, that is in place until the end of June.
Tuesday saw a dramatic resignation from the Trump administration as the head of the National Counter-Terrorism Centre, Joe Kent, publicly quit. Kent, who has a history of far-right associations, says that Iran posed no imminent threat to the US and blamed Israel and its powerful American lobby for starting the war. Tuesday was also St Patrick's Day, which saw Irish Taoiseach Micheál Martin in the Oval Office to present the traditional bowl of shamrock to the US President. He received a warm welcome from both the President and Vice President, but Donald didn't wait too long before launching into a rant about America's European allies and his irritation that they haven't dispatched resources to help clear the Strait of Hormuz.
Well, I'm disappointed in NATO that we spend trillions of dollars on NATO. Think of it, trillions over the years. And when they don't help us, I mean, it's certainly something that we should think about.
Trump also took the opportunity to criticise Keir Starmer again, repeating his remark that Starmer is no Winston Churchill. However, in an unusual moment, the Irish Prime Minister intervened on the UK PM's behalf.
Keir Starmer has done a lot to reset the Irish-British relationship, but I do believe that he's an earnest, sound person who I think you have a capacity to get on with, and you've got on with him before.
Trump's continued criticism of Prime Minister Keir Starmer triggered another surprising response on Tuesday evening, as Tory leader Kemi Badenoch also wanted the American president to back off. Badenoch has been quietly U-turning on her attempts to mirror the US president, and she's also shifted her position on the war in the Middle East, from criticising Starmer initially for not supporting America and Israel to a more cautious stance.
I'm Keir Starmer's biggest critic. There's a lot of stuff that I believe that he's done wrong, but the words coming from the White House are completely wrong. I think it's actually quite childish.
Badenoch also pointed out that the mixed messaging from the US and European allies only serves to send the wrong message to opponents like Vladimir Putin. EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas says the European allies remain concerned that there is no plan in place to end the current situation in the Middle East.
There are no signs of this war slowing down. As we are doing for Ukraine, we must do everything we can to manage the current situation by pushing for diplomatic conclusion.
Israel continued its efforts to decapitate the Iranian regime, with two more key figures killed on Wednesday. Iran's intelligence minister Esmail Khatib, along with top security official Ali Lajani. Wednesday also saw escalation on both sides as Israel launched strikes at the South Pars natural gas field, one of the world's largest and the source of 70% of Iran's gas production. In retaliation, Iran launched strikes at Qatar's Ras Laffan industrial city, a major petroleum site with extensive damage reported, prompting an angry post from US President Trump on Truth Social. With no end in sight, UK Green Party leader Zach Polanski says there was no justification for the war starting in the first place.
The US and Israel launched an illegal bombing campaign. Already well over 1,000 civilians are dead. This was not a war of self-defence.
The price of oil jumped to $119 a barrel at one point on Thursday as the escalation of the war in the Middle East rattled markets. Israel's attack on Iran's largest gas field, which was followed by Iran retaliating with attacks on its neighbours, has sparked a new concern that there is no end in sight to the conflict that appears to be widening. The US President spoke in the Oval Office, pledging that the war will be over soon and that he will do whatever it takes to lower oil prices. There was also a supremely awkward moment as he took questions from reporters with Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takachi. The question was why the US didn't notify its allies in advance.
And we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay, why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor?
This week saw the UK facing a serious outbreak of meningitis in the Canterbury area of Kent. 3 schools have been closed and initially at least 13 cases were reported to the UK Health Security Agency, with 2 people dying from the disease while others have been put into induced comas. The disease is extremely serious and can develop quickly with inflammation of the brain and spinal cord, and anyone who thinks they may have been exposed to it is being asked to come forward for a preventative antibiotic treatment. Dr. Sarah Pitts says vaccines are also critical in the line of defence.
You're supposed to have the meningitis vaccine year 9 in school, I think. But there's a catch-up programme that's available up until the age of 25. So any young people who aren't sure, contact your GP and make sure you're up to date with your vaccines.
One of those who died was a student at the University of Kent, and the second victim has been named as Juliet, a year 13 student at the Queen Elizabeth Grammar School, and her head teacher, Amelia McElroy, was among those paying tribute to her.
She was a lovely girl. Her beautiful smile, her loving nature and her sense of fun will be hugely missed. We are all completely devastated.
Tuesday saw 2 more cases of meningitis identified in Kent, bringing the total number of cases to 15, while 4 of the cases were identified as the bacterial form of the infection, meningitis B. That's problematic because the vaccination programme for what is known as MenB was only rolled out in 2015, which means many teens and young adults are unlikely to have been vaccinated. Health Secretary Wes Streeting said the government is moving to roll out a targeted vaccination programme in the Canterbury area.
This is an unprecedented outbreak. It is also a rapidly developing situation. With these considerations in mind, Mr. Speaker, it is absolutely paramount that we stick to the facts, which is what I intend to do.
The UK's Health Security Agency took the unusual step of issuing an urgent public health alert across England on Wednesday as the meningitis outbreak in Canterbury appeared to be continuing to spread, with 20 cases confirmed, while 2 students have already died. A vaccination programme has now begun at the University of Kent, and authorities believe they have traced the beginning of the outbreak to what seems to have been a super spreader event at a Canterbury nightclub. Health Secretary Wes Streeting updated the media on Wednesday.
What's worried us about the Canterbury outbreak is the pace and extent of the spread of the disease. And that's why we are being so proactive in the provision of antibiotics, because they're an effective treatment.
About 2,500 doses of antibiotics have already been administered, mainly to students, and GPs across the country have been advised to prescribe antibiotics for anyone presenting with symptoms. Adam Finn is a former member of the Joint Committee on Vaccination and Immunisation, and he says while the disease can be deadly, we should stay calm.
This is not COVID. This is not a virus that's going to rush through the population. Even within Canterbury, looking for this vaccine is probably not merited. It's just not necessary.
Tuesday saw students in Canterbury forming long queues as they waited for a vaccine, as the meningitis outbreak in Kent showed no sign of ending, with 27 confirmed and suspected cases. The UK Health and Security Agency said that anyone who went to Club Chemistry in Canterbury between March 5th and 15 was eligible for the shot, as they continue to investigate the theory that the club was the site of a super spreader event. Health Secretary Wes Streeting was keen to emphasise that there's no need for panic.
So far, I'm confident we're doing everything we could do to contain the spread. That's the objective. In terms of the way in which this infection spreads, it is through close personal contact. The risks, even for students here in Canterbury, are relatively low.
We're just under 2 months away from the local elections in England, and with Reform, the Green Party continuing to ride high in the polls, both Labour and the Conservatives are under real pressure. The Tories had a disastrous result at the recent Gorton and Denton by-election, and last Sunday saw leader Kemi Badenoch launch a new campaign focused on middle-class homeowners. The Tories are promising to scrap stamp duty in a bid to make housing more affordable, but Kemi and Shadow Housing Secretary James Cleverly have chosen to do so with a very odd estate agent style ad.
At Kemi & Co, the Conservative Party, we have a simple solution.
Conservatives have a plan to scrap stamp duty on your family home,
saving you thousands.
And it's fully costed through our £47 billion savings plan.
So we'll help you get moving without piling up more debt.
The government, meanwhile, is concerned about a rising unemployment rate and in particular a crisis for young people, with almost 1 million people aged between 16 and 24 years of age not in education, employment or training. Last week saw the introduction of a new V-level, which were intended to give young people more career-focused education. And now a new scheme called Youth Job Grants is being aimed at employers. The intention is to secure 60,000 new jobs for young people aged between 18 and 24 over the next 3 years. And Work and Pensions Secretary Pat McFadden says the government has a total investment of £1 billion in mind to help undo what he called a deep-rooted problem.
All of this is designed to ensure that we do not have a generation that gets used to the habit of not working, that doesn't see the sense of pride and purpose and identity that comes with having a job. Of course, people want to earn a wage too, but having a job is about much more than that.
They say a week is a long time in politics, and incredibly, Wednesday evening marked a week since the Mandelson files were released by Downing Street. Those files show that Prime Minister Keir Starmer was warned about appointing Peter Mandelson as US ambassador, carried reputational risk for the UK because of the peer's long-time friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. Starmer apologised to Epstein's victims, but Tory leader Kemi Badenoch was still trying to get to the bottom of whether Mandelson and the Prime Minister spoke directly at Wednesday's PMQs.
The Prime Minister told us on the record, I believed the lies he told me. If the Prime Minister didn't speak to him, how can he say he lied to him?
The Times has reported that Starmer did not directly question Mandelson about Epstein, but had his former Chief of Staff Morgan McSweeney do it. However, Starmer avoided the question on Wednesday, instead going on the attack over the Tories flip-flopping about the Iran war.
She's utterly irrelevant and she's got no judgment. These are the opposition who jumped into a war with Iran without stopping to think.
Former Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner was back in the spotlight on Wednesday after a speech to Labour activists in Westminster hit the headlines. Her message was that Labour is running out of time and that the government is giving the impression that it's busy representing the establishment rather than working people. The speech has revived talk of a leadership challenge to Prime Minister Keir Starmer, but Rayner's tax issues appear to remain unresolved, which would make it difficult for her to mount a run for number 10. She was frank in her criticism of Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood's proposed changes to immigration rules, something that didn't entirely sit well with another potential leadership candidate, Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham.
Angela needs to be listened to. I would have a concern about the mandatory checks on people's country of origin. That could place an administrative burden on a system that already struggles to cope and in fact doesn't cope, is often in chaos.
Mortgage holders who were hoping for an interest rate cut on Thursday were disappointed as the Bank of England voted to leave the rate at 3.75%. That's largely because of Donald Trump and the chaos in the Middle East, which has seen energy prices climb, and with no end in sight, the bank took the sensible option and left rates where they are. The US Federal Reserve also held its rates this week, as did the European Central Bank. Governor of the Bank of England, Andrew Bailey, who had predicted more rate cuts this year, was taking a sensible approach.
None of us know how this is going to play out. I think, therefore, the appropriate thing is to hold at this point. I don't think it's appropriate to go beyond that, though.
Thursday saw the third volume of the UK's COVID inquiry report published, with a focus on the NHS. Speaking at the launch of the report, inquiry chair Baroness Hallett had praise for the NHS staff.
The report concerns the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the UK's healthcare systems. I can summarise that impact as we coped, but only just.
COVID pandemic saw almost 250,000 deaths, and the report details the brutal pressure on the NHS as the system could not cope with the number of severely ill patients. It lists the shortage of ambulances, oxygen, PPE and trained intensive care staff, and also pointed out that the stay-at-home protect the NHS messaging led to a drop in visits to A&E, which may have endangered patients who needed urgent non-COVID care. Nicola Ranger, the General Secretary of the Royal College of Nursing, said it's unforgivable that the government did not have a proper plan for the pandemic.
There is absolutely no way we were prepared. We had to, as the report shows, rely on student nurses. We absolutely had to rely on recruiting in from other countries. Absolute disgrace. There is no excuse for not being ready.
Still to come in the Standout 7, in association with Metro, Zelensky warns London of drone strikes and the big winners from this year's Oscars.
Right after this.
que traiga la manguera, que son 45.
Cuando cumples 45, te toca soplar muchas velas y examinarte contra el cáncer de colon, ya que al detectarse temprano es más tratable en 9 de cada 10 personas. Usa la prueba de Cologuard en la privacidad de tu casa y envíala de regreso para obtener tus resultados. La prueba de Cologuard es una opción con receta para detectar el cáncer de colon en personas de 45 años o más con riesgo promedio. Resultados positivos deben ir seguidos de una colonoscopía. Pueden darse resultados falsos positivos y falsos negativos. La prueba de Cologuard no reemplaza la colonoscopía en pacientes de alto riesgo. No uses Cologuard si has tenido adenomas, si tienes enfermedad inflamatoria intestinal y ciertos síndromes hereditarios o un historial personal o familiar de cáncer de colon. Pide la prueba de Cologuard a tu médico. Para más información en español, visita cologuard.com/prueba.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Welcome back.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was in London on Tuesday for a series of meetings, including an appearance at Westminster. He warned that drone technology poses a huge risk to European nations, suggesting that the UK needs to prepare for attacks from criminal networks, terror groups, or even lone wolf attackers. He was also keen to warn against lifting sanctions on Russia's oil because of the war in the Middle East, describing Russia and Iran as brothers in hatred. Prime Minister Keir Starmer was happy to reiterate the UK's support for Ukraine.
It's really important that we're clear and consistent that Putin can't be the one who benefits from the conflict in Iran, whether that's oil prices or the dropping of sanctions.
Lizzo has been out of the spotlight for a little while as she battled over a lawsuit with her former dancers and faced plagiarism claims. She's been busy though. While she hasn't been in the recording studio, instead she's been writing a children's book. It's called Lil Lizzo Meets Sasha B. Flutin', and it tells the simple tale of a girl and her magical flute. The singer is famous for her skills with the instrument, once performing on former President James Madison's 200-year-old flute at the Library of Congress. She says that she took inspiration from Queen Bee when it comes to naming her beloved instrument.
Beyonce is she's such an inspiration to me, especially when I was younger, growing up. And she had her alter ego.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, that's so funny, because to me, I felt like the flute would be my alter ego. Oh. And so I was like, you'll be Sasha Flute.
Sunday night saw the 98th Annual Academy Awards take place in the Dolby Theatre in Hollywood, California, with returning host Conan O'Brien in charge of the ceremony. The big winner on the night was Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another, which took home 6 awards, including Best Adapted Screenplay and Best Director. Sean Penn won Best Supporting Actor for his role in the movie, but didn't turn up to collect it. There were no wins for Leonardo DiCaprio again or Timothée Chalamet on the night, with the Best Actor award going to Michael B. Jordan for his role in Sinners, a vampire horror hybrid movie, which also won Best Cinematography and Best Screenplay. He made sure to mention previous black winners of the Best Acting award during his speech.
I stand here because of the people that came before me: Sidney Poitier, Denzel Washington, Halle Berry, Jamie Foxx, Forrest Whitaker, Will Smith. And to be amongst those giants, amongst those greats, amongst my ancestors, amongst my guys. Thank you, everybody in this room and everybody at home, for supporting me over my career. I feel it. I know you guys want me to do well, so thank you for keep betting on me. And I'm going to keep stepping up, And I'm going to keep being the best version of myself I could be. So I just want to say thank you for everybody in this room that had something to do with my success. I love you guys. And everybody at home, I love you. I love you. I love you.
Jessie Buckley, star of Hamnet, continued her clean sweep of awards ceremonies and took home the Oscar for Best Actress.
It's Mother's Day in the UK today, so I would like to dedicate this to the beautiful chaos of a mother's heart. Thank you for recognising me in this role. This is the greatest honour. I can't even believe it. Gurv mila mila mahagut slán.
Well, Sunday night's Oscars saw no big surprises. Sean Penn was awarded Best Supporting Actor, but he missed the ceremony because he was in Ukraine, meeting with President Zelensky, who hailed him as a true friend of Ukraine. He wasn't the only star making political statements, with Javier Bardem calling for no war and free Palestine as he stepped up to present Best International Feature. Joachim Trier won the award for his film Sentimental Value, becoming the first Norwegian director to win an Oscar, but he too was focused on war and the cost of civilian populations.
As an artist, I'm not a politician, but I do believe that we need, in a unanimous thing, cross the aisle to be more collaborative about how we protect children in conflict situations, but also in society in general.
You've been listening to The Smart 7. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. Hit that follow button and have a great day. Give us 7 minutes, we'll give you the world.
Here's how to stay alive longer so you can enjoy Boost Mobile's unlimited plan with a price that never goes up. Do not mistake a wasp nest for a piñata. Stay alive and switch now at Boost Mobile. After 30 gigs, customers may experience slower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost Mobile unlimited plan.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.